You're the closest to heaven that I'll ever be, and I don't want
They said he was too fragile to survive, a broken soul destined to fade away in the mud. But what this 8-pound black and white sheepdog puppy did when Michael tried to drive away will haunt your heart forever. Michael wasn't looking for a dog that rainy afternoon. He was running from the world, oblivious to the tiny life sprinting behind his truck through sheets of pouring rain. He thought it was just a game, a spirited chase by a local farm dog, never realizing this 3-month-old puppy was actually chasing his last breath of hope. Michael kept driving into the mist, completely unaware of the heartbreaking discovery that would change his life when he returned to those cliffs just 2 weeks later. Michael was a man who worshipped solitude, finding his only sanctuary in the wild miles of the coast, where the ocean screams against the cliffs. For years, he had escaped to the same isolated spot to find peace, but for 14 days after that storm, he found none. The image of the tiny black and white patched figure in his rearview mirror acted like a splinter in his mind, a nagging guilt that finally forced him to pack his gear and return. When he stepped out of his truck 2 weeks later, the silence of the campsite was broken by a staggering ghost-like figure emerging from the salt-crusted bushes. It was the same puppy, but the transformation was a nightmare. His once fluffy coat was now a mass of filthy dreadlocks caked in mud, and his skeletal frame was so thin you could count every bone beneath his paper-thin skin. As Michael stood paralyzed by the sight of those sunken, desperate eyes, an old man named Walter appeared from the shadows of the trees. Walter, with a face weathered by 74 years of hard living, sighed as he looked at the pup and told Michael that the boy had been waiting right there, in that exact patch of dirt, ever since the day he was chased away. Michael learned that Walter had been the puppy's only guardian, quietly feeding the abandoned soul for the past 2 months, watching as the dog refused to leave the spot where his world had ended. If you're reading this and haven't subscribed yet, I have to say I'm a little heartbroken. Stories like this need your support. Hit that subscribe button right now. You won't regret it. Now, back to what happened next. "If he's not yours, why do you know him?" Michael asked with a trembling voice. Walter's face darkened as he prepared to reveal the dark truth of how Charlie ended up alone in the wild. The air grew heavy as Walter recounted the tragic morning Charlie was abandoned, describing how at 2:47 a.m. the silence was shattered by the sound of altogether 6 car doors slamming in the dead of night. A woman had heartlessly placed a mother dog and 5 puppies on the cold pavement like bags of trash before vanishing into the night without a single backward glance. While the stronger puppies were eventually claimed by passers-by, Charlie, the smallest and weakest runt of the litter, was left behind, unwanted and invisible to the world. For 2 agonizing months, the pup sat staring down the long, empty road, fueled by a loyalty that outran his starvation, waiting for a mother who would never return. Walter admitted that his own aging body could no longer provide the care the puppy needed, and he looked Michael in the eye with a piercing gaze, stating that Charlie had already made his choice when he chased that truck 2 weeks ago. "He's been glued to your memory ever since," Walter said, "and now he's waiting for you to be the man he thinks you are." Something deep inside Michael's stoic heart finally cracked, and looking down at the muddy, skeletal creature with its enormous, hopeful eyes, he burst into a full, uncontrollable belly laugh. "You tiny, ridiculous monster, you've conned me into a life I never wanted," he shouted, and Charlie responded with a single, sharp, confident bark that seemed to say, "I knew you'd come back for me." Michael immediately loaded Charlie into his truck and raced to the city, beginning a transformation that would mirror the healing of his own lonely soul. After a series of emergency vet visits, life-saving vaccines, and a grueling 2-hour grooming session that turned the bathwater pitch black, the skeletal stray vanished. In his place stood a magnificent, fluffy black and white Old English Sheepdog named Charles Charlie Montgomery, a walking cloud with dopey eyes and a lopsided grin that could melt the coldest heart. Charlie became Michael's constant shadow, his adventure buddy, and the family he never knew he was missing. On their first trip back to the coastal cliffs, Michael tried to sit in his usual solitude to watch the sunset, but Charlie had other plans. The dog stood at the edge of the trail, his tail wagging like a high-speed propeller, letting out a sharp, demanding bark that echoed across the ocean. "I made a huge mistake adopting a bossy dictator like you," Michael would laugh, grabbing his gear and following the energetic, bouncing ball of black and white fur into the woods. As Michael ran his fingers through the soft black patches on Charlie's neck, he couldn't help but look back at that rainy road in his mind, realizing that if he hadn't listened to that nagging pull in his chest to return, he would have spent the rest of his life in a silence that felt like peace, but was actually just emptiness. Now, every joyful bark from Charlie serves as a reminder that he didn't just save a dog, he was saved by one, and their bond has become a silent promise of loyalty that fills every corner of his once hollow life. Years have passed, but the memory of that trembling skeletal pup never fades. It remains a constant reminder that some bonds aren't just formed, they are discovered in the most broken moments. On remote trails today, you can still find them, Michael jogging and Charlie leading the way, a man and his dog who refused to let go. If this story touched your heart and you're still not subscribed, please don't wait any longer. Hit that subscribe button. What would you do if you found a dog like Charlie? Would you take him in or keep driving? Tell me in the comments below. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these incredible rescue stories. Because sometimes the one you try to drive away from is the only one who can show you the way home.